So this is a little bit ridiculous. This is a little bit ridiculous, lads. This is a bit ridiculous. I'm sorry I'm late. Sophie Cunningham reveals she's fined $500. First of all, fine $500 is absolutely hilarious, by the way. Like, that is a hilarious, hilarious number. Like, obviously they can't fine anymore. She's only making 100 grand, and like $500 when you're making 100 grand is a lot of money, in fairness.
Sophie Cunningham just got fined by the WNBA for, wait for it, a TikTok? Oh yeah, you heard that right. Not a flagrant foul, not a bench-clearing brawl, a TikTok. What was she doing, crossing up league policy with a dance challenge? Did she hit the gritty too hard or throw shade at the refs with emojis? Stick around, because this might be the most Gen Z scandal in sports history, and it's absolutely glorious. Let's break this madness down.
Sophie Cunningham was fined for this TikTok by the WNBA. She was complaining about the refs, I think. I don't even know what the TikTok was, but I read the caption, and she got fined $500 for a TikTok. $500 by the WNBA. This looks so bad on the WNBA. This is a freaking car payment. This is a cell phone bill for a family of 4. And you're fining her $500? Don't even fine. What are you going to do? What's the league going to do with $500? You kidding me?
Apparently, posting a TikTok where you clown on referees as a general concept is now a league offense. Not slander, not libel, just vibes and sarcasm. Sophie didn't name names. She didn't say, hey, this zebra right here with the serial number 2457 is blind. She didn't show a photo, drop coordinates, or slip in a sneaky tag. Nope, just some good old-fashioned satire. But oh no, that was just too much for the fragile ecosystem of WNBA officiating.
I cannot believe the WNBA are out here fining players. Actually, no, I can believe it. Because you can't just go, you shouldn't realistically just be allowed to go and insult refs. And in fairness, implying that a ref is slow. Like, it is 1,000,000% an extreme. But you know what? I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Like, to say the refs don't deserve this. Apparently, the ref that I need to look into this, so I might be wrong with this. People were literally saying that the referee that put his hands on JJ Quinterly was the same referee that got into it with Caitlin Clark.
Because in this league, you're allowed to get elbowed in the throat without a whistle, but heaven forbid you mime it in a 15-second video with trending audio. That's where they draw the line. Sophie Cunningham could have committed a full-on reenactment of the Boston Tea Party in the Key and still gotten less scrutiny than this TikTok. Why? Because in WNBA land, clout is threatening, but incompetence? That's just part of the game plan.
On the officiating, we hear the concerns, we take that input. Every play is reviewed, spend hours and hours and hours. Obviously, we use that then to follow up with officials, training. Consistency is important, I think. I think some people who observe our game versus other basketball formats are that there aren't a ton of fouls called, but I realize consistency is the name of the game.
Let's get real. That TikTok didn't hit nerves because it was harmful. It hit because it was accurate. Sophie was mocking the entire ecosystem of officiating nonsense, not individual refs. But when the shoe fits and it's a size ego, suddenly it's a problem. You know what's actually problematic? Refs standing less than a foot away while fouls take place and still managing to miss it, like they're trying to lose a game of Where's Waldo in HD.
I'm not focused on the extracurricular activities, and you know what? During that, it was just part of the game. I think the refs had a lot to do with that. It was a build-up for a couple of years now of them just not protecting, the star player of the WNBA. And so, at the end of the day, I'm going to protect my teammates. That's what I do, and I'm a team player, so it's all good.
Let's revisit that infamous Sophie sequence. 2 obvious fouls in under 30 seconds. 2, not borderline, not debatable. The kind of fouls you'd spot from Section Z while holding nachos and blinking. And the ref, standing right there, front row seat, staring at it like a live-action replay. The kind of view you'd have to pay extra for on League Pass. And still, nothing. Not even a raised eyebrow. Was it a glitch? A blackout? Did the ref momentarily forget they were officiating a contact sport and think they were at Cirque du Soleil? Number. It was a choice. An active decision to pretend a WWE move didn't happen in broad daylight. That's the part nobody wants to say out loud. The same thing went down with Caitlin Clark in the Sun game, the triple tag team, the full contact, no foul fiesta. Mabry basically turned into a linebacker, body slammed Clark with the grace of a collapsing bookshelf, and where did Clark land? Not just on the court, on the reference, on the reference.
Oh, this is very interesting. Sophie Cunningham is going viral right now for a TikTok video she made and a revelation around it. And many WNBA fans, Indiana Fever fans, Sophie Cunningham fans, they're responding to this video because she's calling out WNBA officiating, WNBA refs. You know what's awfully odd is in other leagues, you find out if umpires or refs or whatever, if they're reprimanded, if they're removed from assignment, if they're not doing the right job, blah, 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 like we sent them off here. Or
And not a random ref off somewhere in the corner catching Pokemon. This was the ref standing right there, facing it, with a front row seat to the demolition derby. Clark literally made physical contact with the official as she was crashing to the floor, and the call was still, play on. How does that even work? The ball is bouncing, players are colliding like bumper cars, someone gets thrown to the floor, and the referee, who is now part of the landing zone, looks around like they're still waiting for the play to unfold. Ma'am, it already unfolded. You were the fold. If someone physically crashes into you during a fall caused by a foul and you still say nothing, that's not human error. That's a conscious decision to look the other way while the house burns down. People aren't angry at a missed call, they're angry at a pattern. A pattern where certain players get steamrolled and the refs suddenly develop selective eyesight, like they're allergic to whistles when it involves specific uniforms or specific names.
The officials know what they're calling and what they're not. They know what to look for and what not. Caitlin Clark is a really big deal. And I wonder if they're not calling fouls on her on purpose. Now, I'm not saying that's why she got hurt. I mean, I'm not saying that. But I wonder, just watching these games, are they not calling fouls where she gets hit on purpose because the backlash and what could happen, the optics of, Caitlin Clark getting all these foul calls, getting superstar foul calls, what that would do to the WNBA conversation and attention to the game.
So naturally, Sophie makes a lighthearted TikTok poking fun at the officiating universe, and suddenly it's treated like a federal offense, because that's easier to penalize than looking into why the officials keep missing what everyone else can see in 4K. It's easier to find a player for sass than address the glaring elephant on the court with a whistle and a blindfold. You could make a highlight reel at this point, just 10 minutes of refs watching chaos unfold like they're attending an interpretive dance performance. Players getting bodied, bumped, bulldozed, and the refs just there nodding like, art, beautiful, bring attention to the game. But the second that personality is even mildly critical of a glaring problem, it's conduct unbecoming. Sorry, was she supposed to sing a lullaby instead? Bake cookies for the ref and thank them for watching her get whiplash? This isn't about rules. It's about fragile egos being handed microphones and badges.
when's the last time you heard anything about any of these refs getting anything, including extra training? I mean, I just wonder, is this one of the byproducts of this being the Welfare National Basketball Association? I don't know. Right? I don't get it. But there's obviously, I did a video last night about Caitlin Clark, and you can tell she's talking about being mentally beat down. We also know she's physically beat down. Why does this keep happening? And look, it's not just the Fever, it's not just Caitlin. There's a bunch of players across the leagues that's been speaking out against this.
And the minute a player uses humor as a mirror, someone in a suit screams, "Smash it!" Instead of fixing what's broken, they patch it with a fine and hope the players shut up and dribble, which is rich, considering half the time the dribbling gets interrupted by uncalled charges and mystery bruises. If the officiating was even halfway consistent, there wouldn't be a TikTok to begin with. But when refs are playing a bizarre game of improv theater while elite athletes get hip-checked into the next zip code, someone's got to say something. And Sophie did, with a dance and a wink. No names, no threats, no doxing, just jokes. But in a league where refs can get gently roasted and still file a grievance, suddenly humor is violence and memes are criminal intent. It's like they're allergic to accountability. Not even an allergy. It's a full-blown autoimmune rejection. Any critique is treated like an invasive species. And the players? They're stuck walking a tightrope between being entertaining and not too entertaining, lest the comedy gods of officiating come down with a smite hammer and a Venmo charge. At the end of the day, Sophie's TikTok said what fans have been screaming into the void for months. The refs are unintentionally going viral more than the players. And not because of incredible judgment, because they keep missing the most obvious plays in history like it's part of a script.
thought it was always big to not only support teammates, but to show. You know, like, even in my Minnesota days, man, I've always taken a loyalty to all the players that's on the team. And yeah, man, it helps confidence, it's helped continuity, you know, and then too, for that to be your best player, you gotta protect the best player. And I wanted to, especially when I got to Boston, man, I wanted to make sure that all of the bigs, because usually the bigs are the ones that enforce picks, hard fouls,
sure.
You know what I'm saying? Stuff like this, but.
So, yeah, fine, Sophie. Send her the bill. But don't pretend it's about league integrity. The real integrity issue is players getting tossed around like sock puppets while officials stand in the blast zone, blinking like confused tourists. If anyone should be under review, it's not the TikTok, it's the playback footage of refs missing action while being in the actual splash zone. Because that's not oops, that's theater. And we're all tired of buying tickets to the same bad show. Then the refs said later, well, we didn't see any shoving. Oh, really? That's cute. Were there eyelids on lunch break? Was the game being played in Narnia? Because if that wasn't shoving, then physics needs a rebrand. It's the kind of excuse you expect from a toddler who swears they didn't eat the cookie while still chewing it. They see the shoving. They just don't call it. Because sometimes calling the game fairly doesn't align with the mysterious unspoken rulebook written in disappearing ink.
Standards in the WNBA are insane. It's right in front of our faces, like the proof is in the pudding, you know? At this point, there is nothing that people can say that justifies this. This specific moment we saw recently, it was Caitlin Clark talking to a ref. The Fever was playing the Connecticut Sun and the ref made a call that Caitlin didn't agree with. And I'm gonna show you the video of how she reacted. So this is what she says. That's just rude. Grow up. Come here. The finger's crazy. What's even crazier is that she did not even get teed up for this interaction. And in this situation, I'm not saying it's necessarily her fault. Yeah, it's crazy talking to a ref like that, but the refs aren't doing anything about it. There are no consequences.
And then they have the audacity to get offended when players talk about it. When Sophie clowns on the nonsense, suddenly it's against the code of conduct. Oh, you mean the one written in crayon on a napkin in the back of a league office? The one that says it's $500 a pop for daring to have an opinion about referees while they moonlight as chaos enablers? Free speech in the WNBA apparently comes with a receipt and a $500 deduction. Every time a player accurately points out the absurdity, it's like the league slaps a price tag on the truth. Meanwhile, refs are out there giving full-blown circus performances, juggling missed calls, tightrope walking past obvious fouls, and occasionally pretending a shove to the chest was incidental contact. And for the grand finale, the D. So just to recap, hair pulling, cool. Eye scratching, go ahead. Body slamming, why not? But commenting on how the refs watched it all like they were sightseeing in Times Square, that's a line you may not cross. You can get slammed into next week, but if you tweet about it or laugh over it on TikTok, the league sends you a Venmo request and a moral lecture.
So the Fever saw it coming. They went and got Sophie Cunningham, 6-year-old black belt. This is what the Bulls did with Charles Oakley to protect Michael Jordan. And I said this last year several times. The WNBA is not a vertical league. Their players can't jump over each other to score like the NBA. It's a horizontal chippy league. And you didn't watch the NBA for the last 10 to 12 years. It has always been physical and always been chippy. You get into a lot of collisions because there's no Ja Morant here. There's no Ant Edwards. They don't jump over. It's a horizontal physical league. And Caitlin Clark now is like kerosene to the physicality flame.
Where's the accountability? Because if we're being real, the refs aren't even pretending to be neutral anymore. They're leaning into the chaos like it's a brand partnership. They're out here missing calls more consistently than my Wi-Fi during a storm. Every game there's a "what was that?" moment, and it's never a mystery who gets the short end of the whistle. And yet, it's the players who get fined for reacting to injustice in the only way they can. Speech, not violence, not retaliation, just calling it like it is. Just daring to say, hey, maybe letting someone get tackled in midair isn't great officiating? And for that, $500, please, per statement. Because apparently speaking the truth is more dangerous than assaulting someone on camera. There are now entire reels online of Carrington-style chaos going unchecked. Then suddenly it's unsportsmanlike. It's like the league has this backwards philosophy where decorum is more important than justice, where keeping the refs' egos bubble-wrapped is more important than keeping players physically safe, where silence is rewarded and truth is taxed.
You, especially if Sophie Cunningham is going to continue to fight people for messing with Caitlin Clark, because it feels like Caitlin Clark is going to get treated in a certain way in this league for a long time. She's not a rookie anymore. Okay? She's already proved herself. She's won. And then there were some, ladies last night that were trying to go a little physical. And in last year, I think something we noticed, and I think a lot of people noticed, is when Caitlin would get bullied, nobody would do nothing.
That's right.
Nobody would do nothing. It was like, hey, they didn't know, like, whoa, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe people are doing this to Caitlin Clark. Teammates weren't jumping in there. They bring in Sophie Cunningham. I had no idea. Sophie Cunningham was a black belt at the age of 6.
Yeah.
And let's be clear, no one's asking for robotic perfection. We get it, refereeing is hard. But this isn't about the occasional mistake. It's the consistent pattern of selective blindness, the refusal to admit fault, and the disproportionate punishment for players simply saying, hey, we see what's happening. At this point, they might as well announce a new policy. All players must bring a complimentary fruit basket to the ref after every game, and thank them for not calling your spinal injury a travel. Don't dare post a joke. Don't be sarcastic. Don't question authority unless you want to sponsor the ref's next vacation with your paycheck. Meanwhile, Carrington is out here playing her own version of American Gladiators, and not a single dollar leaves her wallet. Because when she's the aggressor, suddenly everyone's blind. Suddenly, intensity is the spin. Suddenly, the officiating crew morphs into a panel of confused tourists who didn't quite see what happened.
It's wild what the WNBA trying to do to Sophie Cunningham. I love Sophie Cunningham because at the end of the day, you supposed to, how I was taught, and me growing up playing sports, we protecting each other, bro. At the end of the day, all for one, one for all. So look, you think I'm gonna keep allowing you to beat up on my teammate and my teammate playing clean ball, but you trying to poke. Y'all literally been beating this girl up.
Funny how the vision comes and goes depending on who's involved. Funny how the rulebook flips to a different page when certain names are on the receiving end. But players expressing frustration? That's where the league draws a bold, expensive line. And the fans? Oh, they see it all. They've become forensic analysts at this point, breaking down footage like they're trying to solve a crime because, well, they are. A foul crime of silence and spin where aggression is celebrated as long as no one points it out. So sure, go ahead and find Sophie. Hand out another invoice for honesty. But know this, every time you do, more fans wake up. More people start to question why the league protects ref feelings more than player bodies. More players speak up, and the louder it gets, the harder it'll be to pretend we didn't see any shoving. Because at this point, the entire world is watching. And nobody's buying the oops excuse anymore. Not when the missed calls are this obvious, not when the footage is this damning. And definitely not when the fines are getting passed out like candy while actual fouls walk away clean.